Hi, Alvin DeLeon here, and you are watching episode 40 of the 3-Minute Health Tip. In this episode, I'm going to talk about ringing in the ears, also known as tinnitus. And we used to spend time in the clubs, the nightclubs, dancing. There was often a lot of loud music, especially if you're right beside the speakers. And one of the things that would happen at the end of the night when you'd leave the club is that for the next few minutes, maybe a couple of hours, your ears would be ringing. Now, over the years, I've come to have a lot of patients tell me that they experience this similar ringing in their ears, but without coming out of a loud club or a noisy sports stadium. It seemed to come out of nowhere. If you've been following me in the last 40 episodes and these 3-minute health tips that take actually closer to 5 minutes to watch, you know that we're going to address ringing in the ears with the knowledge of the 5 biological laws and the science of G&M. That means that we're going to understand that when we're talking about ringing in the ears, it's actually affecting the inner ear, and so that's the organ that's involved, and that the brain control center that's affected is the post-sensory cortex of the cerebral cortex, and that the entire biological program was initiated by an unexpected event, an unexpected conflict shock. And the conflict shock that triggers ringing in the ears is also known as a conflict of I don't want to hear this. I don't want to hear that sound. Just like coming out of a very loud club, standing right by the speakers that we don't want to hear, that triggers that ringing. It's a similar concept when people are dealing with ringing in the ears that seem to come out of nowhere. And again, this could vary in terms of intensity from very mild ringing that you only notice when it's quiet to really persistent loud ringing that's there all the time. The one commonality is that it came out of nowhere. It wasn't like they were leaving a loud, noisy area, and the ringing seems to persist consistently. And so one of the things that you're going to have to look for if you are dealing with some ringing in the ears in the last couple of days, couple of weeks, couple of months, or even longer, you want to look at what is it in your environment that you don't want to hear. What is it that I want to get away from, that's noisy, that I'm tired of hearing? You know, I remember one case of a student that started to get ringing in his ear in the summertime when he moved back in with his parents for the summer before he'd go back to university in the fall. And one of the things that we determined that he didn't want to hear in his parents' home was the dog barking at 6:30 in the morning to be let out. And so it would annoy him. He was tired of hearing that because he wanted to sleep in, and he didn't have to deal with a dog barking when he was away in school. And that's what led or initiated the ringing in his ears. We've also had cases of people getting ringing in the ear after getting a phone call that they don't want to hear. You know, it's the sound of their daughter crying on the other line of the phone after a sleepover. That's something, you know, I can't believe I heard that. I don't want to hear that. It's the last thing I want to hear. When you're dealing with your own ringing in the ears, I want you to look for something in the environment, an actual noise or a sound that you want to avoid or that you deem as dangerous, that you want to not hear anymore, or something figurative where somebody nagging, somebody accusing you, somebody criticizing you that you don't want to hear. And make those connections, escape the sound that you don't want to hear, or change the perspective that it's safe to hear that it's safe to hear the dog barking, that it's fine, it's a temporary thing, that my daughter is safe and fine, that I don't have to worry that every time I get a phone call from her cell phone that there's something that I'm not going to want to hear that's going to trigger that ringing. And so make those conscious connections, and I hope that this 3-minute health tip will help you to overcome the ringing in your ear. Thanks again for your attention in watching these videos, and I look forward to seeing you at the next episode.